Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Dean, the Dean of UNC Kenan-Flagler Business School, and it's my privilege to welcome you this evening to our lecture as part of our Dean's Speaker Series. As many of you know, this is our final Dean Speakers event for this school year. We've had a very successful series this year, and I hope you will join us for some of the talks that we have already scheduled for next year. Our first event for the next school year, 2009-2010 school year, will be on October 29th, when Jim Turley, who is the CEO of Ernst & Young, will kick off the Dean Speaker Series in the fall. Again, that's October 29th. The Dean Speaker Series was created to bring to our campus outstanding scholars and leaders from the fields of business, government, and education to share their thoughts and insights with UNC Kenan-Flagler, the university, and the community at large. The Dean Speaker Series is made possible through support of the Archie K. Davis Endowment and is actually managed primarily by our students, who select and invite the leaders they are most interested in learning from. So getting an invitation to come and speak here is actually sort of a double compliment because it really represents the support and interest of the students. I also wanted to mention with us tonight are 40 current UNC Kenan-Flagler students whose concentration in their studies is in the area of sustainability. So it's appropriate that they're here with us this evening to hear tonight's speaker and for our celebration of Earth Day. So I'm not going to make you stand up, but would you be willing to raise your hand if you're one of the students whose concentration is sustainability? Oh, they're over here. Okay. All right. Let me just take a few minutes to talk about that and to tell you how proud we are of these students. So in addition to what is really a very challenging MBA curriculum in the base case, they have dedicated themselves to exploring ways in which businesses can be successful, not only in the conventional terms associated with economic profitability, but also in investigating the impact of business on long-term impact on the environment and on social issues as well. So in some ways, they are helping us to set a higher standard for what constitutes business performance. These students are the most recent in a long tradition of students who have had a great deal of interest in sustainability and environmental kinds of issues within the business school, going back at least 12 years and possibly longer. Some of you may be familiar with the Net Impact Organization, which is an international student organization which is focused on these issues. And I know for many years the UNC Kenan-Flagler chapter was the largest group within Net Impact, the largest chapter within Net Impact, and I believe we are still the largest per capita, that is to say, relative to the size of the MBA program. So we're quite proud of the accomplishments of those students. So to those of you who have completed or are about to complete, I guess if you pass your courses in Mod 4, who have completed this, we're very proud of, we treasure your contributions to the school, and we wish you the best as you leave us to go out and make business better and to make the world better and to make the earth better. So thank you for joining us this evening. We are very pleased to welcome this evening's speaker, John Replogle, President and Chief Executive Officer of Burts Bees, one of the most successful companies here in the Research Triangle and certainly beyond. John was named CEO of Burts Bees in January 2006. Under his leadership, the company has doubled in size. Not bad. Not bad. Burt's Bees products are now widely available across the U.S., where they hold a market leadership position, as well as in 10 countries across the globe. As we've already mentioned, today is Earth Day, and John specifically wanted to speak at Kenan-Flagler on this particular date, which I think is a very, very nice idea. Burt's Bees has a very significant commitment to the environment through the natural, earth-friendly products that they create, as well as with the establishment of the Greater Good Foundation, which I imagine John will be talking about today. John previously spent 3 years at Unilever as General Manager, Skincare North America. Prior to that, he spent 8 years at Diageo, most recently as President of Guinness Bass Import Company. That's right. And Managing Director of Guinness Great Britain. And there's only one word that you can say about that: brilliant. John began his career as a consultant with the Boston Consulting Group. He earned an MBA from Harvard, graduating with distinction, and earned a BA from Dartmouth College. Following tonight's speech, Carol Siegel, Director of the Center for Sustainable Enterprise here at UNC Kenan-Flagler, and adjunct professor of strategy and entrepreneurship, will offer a vote of thanks on behalf of the entire community. So please join me in welcoming John to Kenan-Flagler.
Well, good evening. Happy Earth Day. I'm just unloading my pockets. Pardon me. I have so much garbage in my pockets. Keys, phones. That feels better. I'm delighted to be here. It is such an exciting place to be on such an important day. Oh, hi, Tony. Good to see you. How are you? Hey, Benyat. How are you? Good stuff. You know, Earth Day for us is like Christmas. And so what fun to be with so many people who are so engaged and want to talk about meaningful things on Earth Day. And what I'd like to talk a bit about today is the idea of living purposefully and leading responsibly. And I think this should be music to the ears of a small group over here. So if I happen to favor the left-hand side a little bit, you'll understand why. I want to start with a question. So, since it's Earth Day, to whom? Hi, how are you, Henry? Good to see you. What do we all share? The Earth. Great. You are all switched on. I love it. So, that's great. It's beautiful, isn't it? To whom does the planet belong? All of us? All of life. So beyond just people, right? To whom else does it belong? Future generations, right. You know, the Iroquois Indian would say, you know, belongs to the 7th generation, right? Anyone remember Easter or Passover? Time of reflection. Actually, the best read book would tell us it belongs to someone else. Right? The earth is the Lord's and all that is in it. Stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. The land is mine, and you are but aliens and my tenants. Throughout the country that you hold as a possession, you must provide for the redemption of the land. We just celebrated, for those of us who are Christian or Judaic, we just celebrated a very holy season, and these are the commands. This is our earth. We are but stewards. We do not own this planet. It is borrowed from the future. It is given to us by the Lord. As I start my Earth Day conversation, I thought that was an appropriate backdrop just to remind us, because ultimately what I'd like to talk about tonight is responsibility. Who is responsible for this planet and its future? If not, but for the people in this room. So, 39 years ago today, on campuses just like this around the country, a revolution started. It was a not-so-silent spring. Has anyone ever read the book Silent Spring? Common mission. 20 million people took to the streets, took to the Capitol, took over campuses. I didn't have any problem getting through the crowd out there tonight that was protesting to save the earth. So, 39 years on, how are we doing? Let's take a temperature check. How well are we doing on that mission? Benyat says down, okay. How are we doing? I'm not going to just stand up here and speak all night. I want to hear from people, yeah? if I ask enough questions, we may get some answers. How are we doing? Not too well? Okay. Room for improvement, sure. Have we made some progress? You bet we have. Absolutely. Absolutely. Clean Air, Clean Water Acts, the EPA. Anyone read the headline of what the EPA decided earlier this week? Carbon dioxide is a toxic gas, right? There are some great strides being made. Our rivers are cleaner. People have organized, and we are doing a good job on many, many, many dimensions, right? I think the fundamental question is one of pace. Are we moving fast enough, right? And so I think this is a telling story. This is a study undertaken in 1972 and repeated again in 2004. And what you can see is what's happening to our natural resources, right? We're beginning to burn through them. And of course, we saw some of the laws of supply and demand kick in the past year. Yes, you can say it was hyperinflated, but there is a limited amount of oil out there. There are resources that are becoming more and more scarce and more precious. But we've done a great job of driving industrial output. And with that, wonderful things like food supply has grown to meet the growing population. And population growth is truly astronomical. We've seen population growth really rise at an incredible pace. And with all that industrial output, of course, pollution begins to rise. Now, 39 years ago, right, we were back in this zone. Today, we're over here. Let's go forward 39 years. Okay? So the question I have is not one of, are we making progress? Of course we are. The question is one of pace. Are we doing it enough, fast enough? We live in a constrained environment. And this is all about constraints. And ultimately, the planet is a system. And we have to understand that what impacts one part of that system impacts the entirety of the system. And so I think it's utterly important that business take the lead. We've got a ticking clock over the next 39 years that we collectively must address, and business has to take the lead. Business is one of the most powerful forces on earth. It transcends borders. It has the ability to transform how we live and how we act responsibly. The top 200 corporations combined are greater than a quarter of the world's economic activity. The top 200 have twice the economic clout of the poorest 4/5 of humanity. Their combined global employment is only 18.8 million people. Now, 20 million people took to the streets 39 years ago today. Imagine if we could mobilize those 20 million people in those 200 corporations. Do you think we could change the world? Absolutely. And the good news is, it's beginning. It's beginning. But in places like this, which are institutions of learning and of leadership, these have to be the catalytic areas for that pace to quicken. We must set fire to the challenge of leadership and transforming the way business is done. Because with power ultimately comes responsibility. And business must act and lead responsibly. So, how is business going to learn how to lead responsibly? What can they learn from a couple of old dudes? Well, at Dartmouth they taught me a little history. I didn't fall asleep in the class where they taught about Leonardo and Locke. It's a little bit of what I remember, so I thought I'd pull it out here today and dust it off and share it with you, and then talk about this really funky looking dude on the right. Uncle Burt Shavitz, who was the co-founder of Burt's Bees. Yeah, so I think business can actually learn a lot by looking to these folks. And let me jump into it. Leonardo, obviously a brilliant mind, a great scientist, a great artist, and actually put the pieces together. He was really one of the first environmentalists and defined the science of ecology. Locke set up the foundation of social contract theory, and Burt created postmodern social contract. I figured that was a good fancy name for the triple bottom line. The idea that we are here to serve more than just shareholders and deliver profit, but actually deliver growth for people, care for the planet, and the delivery of profit. The triple bottom line. So each in turn. Leonardo really understood fundamentally, are there any engineers in here? Systems dynamics, yeah? I mean, Leonardo was a big thinker and understood quite fundamentally that everything is connected. And if you touch one part, you touch it all. And I absolutely love this quote from Leonardo, which is, "We will never discover an invention more beautiful, easier, or more economical than nature's, because in her inventions, nothing is wanting, and nothing is superfluous." Isn't that marvelous? If we hold that to be true, if we fundamentally believe that, what then is our relationship? What then is business's relationship with nature? If nothing is wanting and nothing is superfluous. So the world's a network of inseparable patterns of relationship. The planet is a living, self-regulating system. And wherein does man fit? And how do we think about this system as leaders of business? Because business does not sit outside, it sits within this system. And so as a business leader, we need to think about that system dynamic, that balance, and our impact on that balance. Okay, let's move to John Locke. John Locke stole from Socrates. Okay, social contract theory, he built on it. There are four key elements. Individual self-interest. Anyone recall what that was, right? Left to our own devices, right? We pursue our own goals. Therefore, we need to move into and form a social contract with one another very clearly, which is both a moral and a political contract. And this idea of there will be a formation of a civil government, one body politique, right? A great idea back in Locke's time when nations were separated. There was not global commerce per se. Emails did not move around the nation, around the world, nor did SARS and AIDS and other dynamics. So in this context that we live in today, where does one body politique fall into play? Do we have one body politique that can help us through this, who can quicken this pace of progress against our goals to create a sustainable environment? Well, arguably, I would say the UN probably cannot get that done. However, the substitute for that has grown up in that time is literally business. Business, in many ways, has become the global governing body in many regards. And so there is an opportunity here for business within social contract. So, law of nature. Let's rehearse what this is, okay? Refresh. One is not allowed to take more from nature than oneself can use, thereby leaving others without enough for themselves. Because nature is given to all of mankind by God for its common subsistence, one cannot take more than his own fair share. Ladies and gentlemen, I went to the Harvard Business School where I was taught that winning was about taking more than your fair share. How do these two concepts sit together? I was taught about value at Harvard, not about values. I was taught about principle, not about principles. How do we reconcile what we're teaching and how we're competing and how we're measuring winning with what we really all need? And I think that is where the new scorecard comes into play, which is measurement of the triple bottom line. Basically, Locke proposed the triple bottom line a long time ago. We just didn't know what it was at that time. So we're not really living by this today, right? We live by a different set of principles. So what happens when the social contract breaks down? You know, does it create a hopeless situation, or in fact, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, a new opportunity? A new opportunity to define leadership, to define one body politique, to redefine that social contract. And just as Da Vinci challenges us to put ourselves, business, within the sphere of the system, so too must we interpret Locke to put business within the social contract. Business cannot sit outside of the social contract. It must form a political and moral contract that serves all of us. Yeah, that's the new opportunity. So let's watch the evolution of social contract. All right? 100 years ago, the Industrial Revolution was in full swing. It was all about the creation of wealth. You had the superpowers, the robber barons, who created incredible wealth, created incredible estates, and there were even those who did good with that, right? But there had to be the rise of countervailing forces, and those countervailing forces were unions. In the mid-1900s, you get the emergence of the business social contract, business beginning to think and contract differently. Yes, you created wealth, but you created it largely at the expense of other businesses, less so at the expense of individuals. You pass wealth then retrospectively through philanthropic trusts, and there you've got folks like, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Great stuff. After you've made enough, you give it away at the end, right? And then you move into a new phase, which is the phase of the rise of the socially conscious business, right? Which is beginning with the end in mind, generating wealth by sustainably serving others in the community around you, and companies like Patagonia, Newman's Own, even Burt's Bees, created with that fundamental understanding and living within the boundary of the law of nature, within the social contract, to create wealth with others, for others, and thereby creating a new model. And there are more and more companies learning and leading this way, and hopefully more and more education on campuses like this across the country, teaching and helping the future leadership aspire for a greater purpose, and ultimately blurring that line between business and social enterprise. Hence what we call the triple bottom line. The service not simply of shareholders, but of stakeholders. Okay? And I want to share with you a little bit about what the triple bottom line looks like. There are a number of companies that are out on the front edge here, and frankly, this is not just goodness and light. This is not soft stuff. This is hard stuff. Frankly, I could sit here and give you the same presentation and talk about it as competitive advantage. Long-term sustainable competitive advantage means ultimately, if you play with a different end in mind, you will win long-term. These companies are all advantaged. Interface in carpet, Patagonia and outdoor, Herman Miller and office furniture, and the list goes on. And what they've done is they've put fundamentally green strategies to work that have created long-term advantage. And I'll walk you through how we've done that at Burt's Bees, and how it's great for us, great for our bottom line, but also serves the triple bottom line. And ultimately, I'm inspired by the leadership that Yvon Chouinard has created at Patagonia. The mission of Patagonia. Patagonia exists as a business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. That is the mission statement of Patagonia. It's not to make great outdoor wear and make a lot of money. Yeah, and they do that too, right? But the mission statement is fundamentally different. Companies are being led, created differently. And I hope that not only this group, but all the other students here follow the model of a Patagonia, are inspired by a folk like Yvon Chouinard, and take a different course and deliver a different value. So let me talk a bit about Burt's Bees and what we've been doing on that front. We are pursuing the triple bottom line, and it's in our DNA. Burt and Roxanne, they were two incredibly different people. Burt was a photojournalist for the New York Times, decided to drop out, took his bees, moved up to Guilford, Maine, was selling honey out of the back of his pickup truck. Roxanne was a graphic artist, left Pennsylvania after 3 Mile Island, moved up with her 2 children to Maine, was hitchhiking into town. Burt picked her up. She noticed the jars of honey. She said, you know, if you made them a bit smaller and put a label on them, you could probably sell a whole lot more. There's some genius here. Burt did that. Roxanne designed the label, Burt's Bees Honey, and sales went through the roof. And then she discovered all the beeswax he'd been compiling. And she started making stuff. And this is hardscrabble Maine, cold winters. She created a hand salve. She created a stove polish, because your stove gets pretty nasty up there when you're cooking on it and heating your cabin with it. And then she stumbled across a formula for a little product called lip balm. And they went around to all these country fairs and sold their products at the country fairs. And pretty soon, Roxanne was outselling Burt. And with that, a business was formed, and Burt's Bees began to take off around northern New England and spread from there. But the story fundamentally is one of principles. They were green not only because they had to be, they had nothing, they were resourceful people, waste not, want not, no scrap was left, but also because in their heart and soul, they believed that was the right thing to do. And it is that DNA, that imprint that they created for our business 25 years ago that guides us as our compass as we move forward as a company today. And it's evolved. So I went to Harvard, so I figured you had to write a business model, right? So here's my business model. This is what we call the greater good. This is how we live and make choices and decisions at Burt's Bees. And it fundamentally has 3 pillars to it. It's about delivering well-being. We are a well-being company. And we do that by natural products, not only the ingredients, but the way it's made. We believe in being socially responsible. We do that by taking a humanitarian approach to animals, to our employees, to our suppliers, throughout our entire value chain. We think about what's the right thing to do socially. And then it's about delivering sustainability with an environmental eye. And we believe fundamentally that we have a relationship, and our relationship is with consumers, customers, the community, vendors, industry, and government. And it is these 3 tenets that work in harmony with each other and are our pledge and our relationship with our constituents. So who's in the marketing group here? Here's another question. Excellent. These incredibly intelligent women in the back row. What is a brand? You can't graduate without answering that. The dean already made a pledge to me. First one to answer gets a summer internship at Burt's Bees. Anyone ever see, what was it, Morton Kondaki? What was a McLaughlin Group? Wrong answer! All right, a brand. A brand is a relationship. And what is the foundation of a relationship? I heard it right here. Trust. We're in the trust business. We have a brand that goes beyond a rational delivery. Yes, our products work. Yes, they care for your skin. Yes, they feel good on your lips. Yeah, they're pretty and they're fun and funky. We go beyond rational to emotive, right? And that makes all the difference. And when you can build trust with your consumers, your brand stands for something so much more. Our business model is about building trust because our behaviors are congruent with the principles and the values of the brand. That's a sustainable competitive advantage. So what I want to do is canter through these three elements, and I want to start on the bottom left and talk about what we're doing on environmental sustainability, what we're doing on the humanitarian front, what we're doing on the natural well-being front. Okay? We've got very clear goals. So we wrote a manifesto, and we're focused on non-product water use, wastewater reuse, waste to landfill, and greenhouse gas emissions. Okay? Those are fundamentally the four big rocks we focus on. Okay? But I want to tell you something. I'm talking about our company, but I also want to let you all know we've got lots of, someone said it earlier, room for improvement. We've got a long way to go because sustainability, friends, is a journey. We ain't quite got it right yet. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. But let me tell you how we've moved along. We set a very clear vision. We called it our 2020 vision. We wanted to be the greenest personal care company on earth. That's a motivating thing you can get behind. And we said, how would we achieve that? Well, we want 100% of our employees engaged and committed behind that vision. We will think about our product as being cradle to cradle, not cradle to grave, right? There is no grave in sustainability. You don't throw things out. Roxanne and Burt never did that. They made use of every scrap. So our product will be 100% natural. All our packaging will be post-consumer recycled or biodegradable. We will be a carbon-free company. We will have zero waste to landfill, and our buildings and offices will be green. That's our vision. That's our journey. We put it out there, and we had no idea when we wrote it, which was 2 years ago, how we would achieve it. Absolutely no clue. Now, we had a lot of good practices that we could build off of, but we didn't have the roadmap. But just by setting the goals and setting the vision, it transformed the way we did business. Okay? So all you future CEOs, keep that in mind. Set audacious goals and visions for your team, and they will delight and surprise you every single day with what they can achieve. This is what we've done on wastewater. Okay? So we are cutting wastewater. We reduced our wastewater 30% last year while we grew 30%. That's cutting our wastewater per unit produced in half in a year. Okay? How do you do it? Well, you do it in two ways. First, you do the big stuff on the right. You set the goal, and we put a picture of, you know, one of those water trucks that fills up swimming pools? We took a picture of that, and we put it in front of the guys who make the product on the board where they meet every day. And we say, we use this much water every day. How can you cut that in half? And the visual image got them thinking. And what did they do? They started to think differently about how we made product and how we cleaned our tanks. We have a giant kitchen, think of it that way. And at the end, we've got to make sure the tanks are clean. We used to fill them up with water, put it in a cleaning agent, scrub them out, and then fill them up again to rinse them. Change the process. We steam clean now. Steam cleaning has cut the water use by about 95%. On the left is something a little bit different. It's a flushless urinal. We installed them throughout our buildings. The payback on that is 22 years, by the way. Good investment or not? Why do you put that up? Bingo. Sends a message. It is a visible reminder to at least half our population, 4 or 5 times a day, 7 if you're like me and drink a lot of water, that we're in this for a purpose. So you do stuff like that as a visible symbol of your commitment. 22-year payback or not, it's the right thing to do, and it reminds people what you're going after. Electricity. Electricity ain't cheap. And we get our power from Duke, and Duke, tears down mountains and moves coal and burns it, pollutes our environment in doing it. Thank you very much for the power, Duke. But I've told you my goal. I want to be off the grid. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I don't have a partner in Progress or Duke who will help me do that, despite many requests. So we're figuring it out. And the first thing to do is reduce, right? So we set a goal to cut our energy use. And we've cut our energy use dramatically, 20% while growing 30% in the past year. Not a bad start. Now, we don't just do that because it's a good thing to do, but it has great impact in terms of reducing greenhouse gases. But boy, it absolutely impacts the bottom line with the price of energy going up, up, up. We're creating a competitive advantage by getting our costs down, right? Good old-fashioned bottom line management. But again, the way we did this is we set a big goal, and then we started to measure, because what gets measured gets done. We've been taught that in our MBA programs, right? So each line, we put a power meter on. We started to measure how much energy we're using, not just as a building, but on each manufacturing line. And what did we discover? On our lip balm line, 40% of the energy used to make our lip balms went into heating up the shrink wrap that went over the top of the lip balm to give the consumer tamper evidency. We were using polyvinyl chloride, nasty stuff. We had to use that as a resource, heat it up. It was the slowest part of the line. And how was the consumer experience? It sucked. You would go there and try to open it up, and you'd peel it, and then you're left with a pile of junk in your hand. And if you didn't care, you threw it on the ground. If you're good, you put it in your pocket, and you finally threw it out, and it went to a landfill. That was a lose, right? We started measuring this, and what happens is when you set goals like that, innovation occurs. Well, someone on our line noticed, we're already putting a label on it. What if we made the label 1/8 of an inch longer and put a little pull tab on it? And if my nails were longer, I could get it. And just simply had that. There's your proof. This is paper-backed, completely biodegradable. Cost us a fraction. We removed the shrink wrapper from the line. We sold it to some sucker, made some cash for it. We cut our energy on the line 40%, and we improved the consumer experience. Win, 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 win. And by the way, it was created by one of the guys who works, by a team that works on our line, reinforcing behavior. Right? And once you do that, you look for the next lion to kill. You're now a lion hunter. And we got a lot of lion hunters now at Burt's Bees. So it means that I, as a CEO, don't have to do it all. You set the vision, you measure it, you reward people, you make them heroes, and you get the heck out of their way so they can go along and change the world. Waste to landfill. We've cut our waste to landfill by 85%. Remember I said we wanted to be zero waste to landfill by 2020? We think we can do it by 2010. We had no idea how we were going to do it when we started. We've cut it by 85%. Now, yes, folks, we're still creating 5 tons of waste per month, 60 tons of waste a year. The average American creates how much waste a year? 1 ton. The people in this room, what do we got, 200 folks? We collectively create 200 tons of waste a year. You are carrying 1 ton of waste. Yeah, you will throw out 1 ton over the course of the next 365 days. I challenge you all to cut your waste by 85% over the coming year. What would you need to do personally to achieve that goal? That's what we did. So we're down now to 60 tons a year. For a company that does business in 11 countries and sells $200 million worth of product, we create the equivalent of 60 humans worth of waste per year. Put it in another dimension, right? So pretty good stuff. So how do you do that? How would you do that? Less packaging, sure. You get innovative, creative. Recover more stuff, sure. What you do is you have fun, and you put on some Tyvek suits, and you go dumpster diving. Remember, what gets measured gets done. How are you going to measure what it is you're creating? You got to get in your dumpsters. So we put on some suits. We had a little party. We created a dumpster dive team. Chris, roll the tape.
This is dumpster day. We have collected all of the landfill waste that our RTP operation generates for the last 2 weeks.
Today we're sharing it with everyone. So we'll bring all the employees through. And there's at least one piece of material in all this that every employee is going to recognize and hopefully remember that they put that into a trash can at some point. And hopefully we'll spur some thought that maybe we can find another home for these things.
Now we're sorting it into basically 3 categories: stuff that we do currently recycle that should not be in the trash, items that could possibly be recycled if we had an outlet, and then the last pile is things that are truly trash.
As you can see, there's quite a bit. I know you guys are going to be working on composting, lunchroom trash, and there's a lot of lunchroom trash in here, but you can just imagine over an entire year how much room this would take up in a landfill.
We've got everyone from marketing to financial forecasting to the safety department to customer care to some of our production employees mixed in.
We're trying to find a way to show to people kind of the collective impact of our operations out here. You know, when you throw away one bucket, it doesn't really make an impact, but when you see what we're putting in the landfill every week, you know, hopefully it'll raise some awareness.
We're dirty and we love it.
Today's event is designed to educate our employees about the choices we make every day, about what we do and don't throw away.
Oh yeah, that make you think right there.
I couldn't believe how much recyclable stuff was in the trash.
It's definitely an eye-opener and something for us to work on, both as a company as individuals as well.
A lot of the packaging and displays were not put into the recycle bin that could have absolutely been done. So we've got to educate both sides a little more and make sure that gets happening.
We must drive sustainability. You put the profit in the bank and the quarter closes. The sustainability lasts forever. What we do impacts us forever.
The opportunity that we have to make a difference, it's awesome. And we will make a difference. That's from Bad Barb.
So, hands-on learning, right? You set a goal, you don't know how you're going to get there, you jump in a dumpster, you start to measure it, and then you throw a lunch on Earth Day last year. You invite every one of your employees for a wonderful lunch, but wait, there's a catch. First, you got to walk through our trash. And everyone got it. And waste to landfills come down 85% over the past 18 months. So we're on our way. We're making a good progress on the journey. Keep going. Yeah, up, up, up. There you go. Perfect. So how are we doing this year? So this is fresh off the press. We just shared this with the Burts Bees team today. We survey how we're doing as a company, and we ask everyone to complete a survey. We have 325 employees, and here's how we're doing. 93% of our employees make an effort to reduce energy at home. 10% have rain barrels, 25% compost, 40% take their reusable bags to the grocery store, and 82% consume organic or locally grown food. What if everyone did that? What if the 18.8 million people in those 200 corporations that I talked about did that? Do you think we would make a difference? Do you think the pace would be there? It's not hard to do. And it creates competitive advantage. And it creates morale and affinity. And it changes behavior at home. And the kids learn a lesson. And what happens then? They grow up to take responsibility. So, versus last year, 82% use compact fluorescent lighting. 309 turn off the lights when exiting a room. I don't know what the other 16 are doing, but they'll be called to the principal's office. Turning off the faucet, recycling at home, purchase renewable energy credits. Look at that. 37, so about 11% of Burt's Bees employees purchase energy offsets for their home. Now, if everyone did that in the country, today renewable energy is about 1% of our power source. It would be 10% tomorrow, right? So leadership is something that is infectious, right? And we've created an environment and the opportunity for people to lead, and people are leading at home. That's the environmental journey. And that's the longest part of the story. I will do a quick canter on well-being. We drive well-being in 3 areas: employee care, humanitarian and animal, and community care. And as the Dean mentioned, we've created a foundation called the Greater Good Foundation. 10% of all purchases off our website fund our foundation. So anyone who wants to buy Burt's Bees, go online, buy it from us online, and 10% go right into the foundation. The foundation is supporting Teach for America. It's supporting Slow Foods and Carolina Farm Stewardship and places like Habitat for Humanity. And so recently we teamed with Habitat. They are building a wonderful community in Durham. North Carolina is the 8th richest state in the United States. Durham has the highest level of people living below the poverty line, 20%. We are a Durham-based company. In fact, today we announced we're moving our headquarters to downtown Durham so we can be a more active force in the revitalization and sustainability of Durham. And we partnered with Habitat, and we're building a green community. It is the first LEED certified affordable housing green community in North Carolina and one of the very few in the country. And our employees have gone out and built now several homes, and we closed the company for a day and went out and partnered with Kaboom and built a playground and vegetable gardens, and it's transforming the way the people who live in the community think about and take responsibility for their environment. And finally, we measure how we're doing with our employees in terms of the feedback they give us. And frankly, we believe not only are we doing the right stuff, but it is reinforcing for our employees. This is an incredibly motivating force, and we have two assets in our business. Right? We have an asset, which is a brand, and we have a second asset, which are our people. And unfortunately, in economies like this, a lot of CEOs get confused, and they think actually that people are an expense, and they put them over on the P&L, and they forget they're assets that belong on the balance sheet. And if you treat your people like assets, they treat you well. And so we have an incredible retention rate within our business, and our employees go out and get more employees. And finally, the third is around natural health. Ultimately, we want to be 100% natural. We believe sustainability is critical. It's linked to our business. We take part in things like colony collapse disorder, which is the disappearance of the honeybees, be it funding research or lobbying Congress. 1/3 of the food we eat comes from pollination, and yet 30% of the honeybees have disappeared. And we've got to find a better way to sustain our food supply. I showed you that curve, right? The health of our honeybees and our pollinators is critical. So we lend our energy against that. But we're also trying to raise the industry standards for what natural is. Consumers are confused. And so what we did is we thought differently. Instead of thinking about our competition, we thought about our collaboration. We gathered 7 other leading players in the industry. We grabbed the Natural Products Association, the leading association in our category, and we sat down and wrote a specific and clear charter of what is natural. And now we have submitted all of our products for third-party certification, and this is the way the industry is going, so that the consumers are very clear on what is and what isn't natural. Again, it's part of our pledge, it's part of the trust, it's part of the relationship, and it's part of the brand. Okay. Yeah, John, that's great stuff. So you talked about the people and the planet, but what about the profit? Because it's no good unless you deliver the profit. So we have done just that. We've been recognized by our consumers. So every year, Alloy Marketing surveys college students, and they ask them, talk to me about the most sustainable companies. And for 3 years running, Burt's Bees has been in the top 5. And most recently, this past year, we were named the #1 sustainable personal care company, according to college students. And if you don't think the college students are important to our business, then you don't know our business. So it's paying off with our consumers. It's paying off in growth. We've grown 8x in 8 years. That's a pretty good track record, and the trend has continued. So consumers are rewarding us, and our bottom line has grown. So in the 3 years I've been at Burt's Bees, we've doubled the top line, and our gross margins, we've added 800 basis points to our gross margins. Green is good business, folks. 800 basis points to gross margins in 3 years. Just being much more resourceful and thoughtful about all elements of the cost structure. So, what does it mean for all of us, right? It's a great story, but all good stories need a happy ending, right? So, I believe we've got a new social contract. And we need business to lead and to be within that social contract. But that new contract requires new leadership. And we're in a place that teaches leadership, yeah? So, if we're going to redefine the social contract, we have to redefine the business contract. If we're going to redefine the business contract, we have to redefine the business leader. And I believe that is the mission of this school, and probably is one thing that draws us all together. We've got a new industrial revolution. You can gain competitive advantage by being a sustainable and responsible company. There are endless companies that are doing it. It's a revolution. To the quick go the prize. There is a first mover advantage, and I challenge everyone here to seize it. And for the students as the future leaders, We must define the postmodern social contract through our choices and our leadership. I challenge you to lead with both your head and your heart. Put the S on the value to values, put the S on principle to principles, and put the S before leadership into service leadership. Add the S. Lead with your head and your heart. Go beyond. Act locally, think globally, challenge boundaries, and redefine the principles of business leadership. That is how you differentiate. That is how you win, not only for your business and you personally, but for the benefit for all of us. So, I started with Patagonia as the inspiration for this triple bottom line. If you've not read about Patagonia or Yvon Chouinard, I encourage you to do so. He is a remarkable person. It is a remarkable story. But Chouinard says, Patagonia exists as a business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. Inspiration needs noise. It needs leadership. To inspire solutions to the environmental crisis, you have to go public with your own. You have to be explicit. Now, I know this crowd can get pretty noisy when Carolina wins in hoops. Can we get as loud and as noisy about the challenge and the opportunity in front of us? So I challenge you all to ask, what will your noise be on this Earth Day and over the next 364 days as we march our way to the 40th anniversary of Earth Day? What will your noise be? Thanks.
Can we take a couple questions?
Sure, happy to.
Okay.
Happy to. Great. Good. Thank you. So how do we kind of bring what is quintessentially an American brand and tell our story in international markets? We've grown into 11 markets today. We'll be in 24 markets in the next 24 months. So we are expanding internationally rapidly. And the way you do it, again, we call it seed, succeed, exceed. We seed. We take the time up front to seed, so we are choiceful in places where we distribute the brand and how we do it. So, for example, if you fly business class on American Airlines today overseas, you'll get an amenity kit, and Burt's Bees is in that amenity kit. We're seeding markets. We're allowing consumers, a huge part of Burt's Bees is about gifting. How many people came into the brand by being told or given it by someone else, right? About half the people. So gifting is a powerful form. We start through gifts, and that is a particularly strong cultural fit in Asia. So gifting is a unique play. We start by tuning into those markets and what's different. And so we're preparing right now for a broad launch with a specific retailer across Europe. Through their beauty channels, and really thinking about how we bring the essence of the brand to life and create a different retail environment that reinforces the natural, sustainable elements of the brand. So it's about being flexible and adaptive, frankly. I think a lot of companies today make the mistake of thinking global brand. There is one size fits all. And that's, how our brand will work. I worked at Unilever that runs global brands. I can tell you firsthand, if anyone ever tells you, well, you have to follow the global brand strategy, you probably ain't got the story straight, right? So it's think globally, yes, but you've got to tailor it to the local market and tune in to what's important and use language specifically for local markets. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What are some ways you recommend for Burts Bees or for business in general to interact with government, both here locally and globally?
Well, we are doing a lot on the local basis, engaging with government, and we encourage all of our employees to kind of make those contacts and work those networks as best as possible. And I do think ultimately it's local government where you're going to have the greatest impact. Obviously, in just about every industry, there's some kind of association group that turns into a lobby group. And I think one of the greatest, I talk about that pace, I think one of the greatest challenges we face in terms of business is what message is the lobby group delivering to the government? And are they working to preserve an agenda of the past or build an agenda for the future? And I think that's where we probably have to rewrite how business leads government rather than how business preserves the historic past. And so, for all of you who are going to be in the business world and are in it, have an influence, have a say in your Chamber of Commerce. Make sure that the agenda is set right for the future and thinking ahead, not simply about the past. And business can lead government, and I think has a purposeful role in doing that so long as the intent and the measure and the goals are truly set to the greater good. Yes?
How is Burts Bees doing in Clorox?
Great question. We had a wonderful day today. Our CEO, Don Knaus, was with us all day. So he came in from Clorox purposely for Earth Day. And as we walked Don through our manufacturing facilities and all, he had out his phone taking pictures of our waste cans, going, I got to send that to the guys. I mean, it's just wonderful to see the lights go on. I would say that first on the Clorox acquisition, Clorox bought a company, not a brand. They bought Burt's Bees, the company, and we sold to Clorox because they wanted the company and the greater good business model, not just the brand. Had we sold to some other companies, it very much would have ended up as a brand that got stripped and moved to a headquarters. Clorox has made a commitment to keep Burt's here in the Triangle, to help us grow, to leverage, but also to learn from us. It's part of what they call their centennial strategy, and they're redefining their portfolio with things like Brita and Greenworks, which is an all-natural line of household cleaners, and Burt's Bees. And so Don Knaus has a vision for transforming the Clorox portfolio and for Burt's Bees' role not only in that transformation, but transformation of business practices as well. So I sit on their eco committee. I've helped to push and prod and nod and cajole. And step by step, 15 months in, we're teaching the elephant to dance. Yes? Where can we take Burt's Bees? I think, two answers to that. One is I don't know the answer to that, okay? We've not done the research and all. What we did when I joined the company is we were moving in a lot of directions, and what we needed was strategic alignment. And so I spent some time in the first 60 days really defining what our business stood for and getting alignment within the organization. We are a passionate group of individuals, but everyone was heading in their own direction. And to do that, we had to focus. So we made some hard choices. We rationalized. We had 150 SKUs when I joined the business. We rationalized 45 of them. We got out of oral care. We got out of color cosmetics. We cut entire ranges. We drowned the puppies, yeah? And we got focused. And, you know, sometimes you got to burn the forest for new growth, and that's what we did. And then we launched 60 products over 2 years. And it created incredible growth. And the consumer has allowed us to expand. And now, guess what? Now that we're ready, we're going to go back into oral care. Because the consumer will give us permission to do that. And now we've figured out a formulation that is really superb. And so we're going to go in the right way and do it well and right and think about all the elements of it. So Burt's will continue to expand our range. Will we one day be, you know, supplements or cough lozenges or household cleaning? I don't know yet. But I do know that we are focused as a natural personal care company today. And that is our central mission and focus. Yes?
How do you wrestle with the question of growth and the idea of infinite growth in a finite biosphere as a business? I mean, you have a great growth story, but I'm not sure how to line that up to the sustainability.
How do you sleep at night, John? It's a great story, but yes. So here's how I reconcile it, is every time I can replace your Pantene with my hair care, or your chapstick made of petrolatum with my natural beeswax, or your Olay for my face cream, which uses 72% less packaging than your Olay. And by the way, mine's post-consumer recycled and yours is virgin plastic. I feel pretty good that there is a $50 billion U.S. personal care market out there. And if I were to substitute my brand for everyone else, then the impact of everyone choosing Burt's Bees would be about a 70% reduction in packaging waste, in using sustainable ingredients that are naturally and fair trade collected, as opposed to made in synthetic plants of non-renewables. That's how I live with it, substitution. So it quickens my pace. It doesn't make me worry about growth. Until consumers stop using personal care, then I'll shutter the company. Thank you.
John, thank you on behalf of the faculty, students, and members of the Chapel Hill, Carborough area for coming to speak with us on this Earth Day. Thank you for sharing your story and for your thoughts that challenge us to think differently and the challenge you gave us to really act differently. So I look forward to being part of this mission towards sustainability that you've laid before us as a challenge and creating more noise in the next 39 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you.